50 days ago, I decided I was done waiting for life to happen to me. I decided it was time to start chasing my dreams and trying to build a life that I actually loved. And well, the last 50 days have definitely not always gone the way I expected them to. But I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Here's the reality. Success takes time. If you expect it to happen overnight, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. But if you can learn to reframe your mindset, you can learn to fall in love with the process itself and keep going even when, especially when, things get hard. Let me take you through the 4 biggest lessons that I've learned over these first 50 days of chasing my dreams and trying to build a new life for myself. And through this process, I'll tell you why I'm feeling even more excited about the next 50 days and everything that's to come after that. Lesson 1. Learn to celebrate the little victories. There's this C.S. Lewis quote that I absolutely love. Isn't it funny how day by day, nothing changes, but when you look back, everything is different. You have to be prepared for that feeling, that day by day, nothing is changing no matter how hard you work. It's gonna take time to see results, but if you can learn to celebrate the little victories, it'll help you see that you are actually making progress. I'll give you a couple of examples. First is this YouTube channel. I'm still new to YouTube, still new to making and sharing videos, and it still feels terrifying to put myself out there. But I can celebrate every time I hit the publish button. I can celebrate how much work went into writing and filming and editing each video that I make. And then I get to celebrate each and every view I get. I mean, seriously, every single time I get another view, I'm like, anything's possible! I can't tell you how rewarding it feels to get just one like or one supportive comment on one of my videos. It feels like a sign that I'm doing something right, something worth doing, and I think that's worth celebrating. Or take my Substack, where I've been trying to share some of the less flashy details of the process that don't make it to YouTube. I found it really difficult to grow my following over on Substack so far, but I've celebrated each and every new subscription that I've gotten. And you should have seen me when I got my first paid subscription. Sure, it's only a few dollars, but it's the first few dollars that I've made for myself in this process. And I can't tell you how rewarding that feels. I found so much joy in celebrating the little things. I found that it can help to write down each of these little victories as they come up. And when you're feeling stuck or like you're not making progress, take a look at that list of all the little victories as a reminder of how far you've come. Speaking of feeling stuck, if you are anything like me, no matter how many little victories you celebrate, you're still gonna have moments of doubt, uncertainty, and questioning literally everything you're doing. Motivation comes and goes, but you need to find a way to keep moving forward every single day. And that brings us to lesson 2. Discipline beats motivation. This is where the importance of things like structure, routines, habits, and balance all come into play. I had a friend tell me that they didn't think they could ever do what I'm trying to do simply because they didn't think they'd be able to hold themselves accountable to get work done without a manager or a boss giving them direction and structure every day. Here's something you have to understand. Nobody is coming to save you. If you're trying to take your life into your own hands, that also means that you're largely responsible for your own success or failure. That doesn't mean you can't ask for help. You should never be afraid to ask for help. I think you'll be surprised how many people there are to support you, even if it doesn't feel like it. But you have to figure out what works for you. You need to take some time to determine what's important to you. What do you need to devote your time to in order to achieve your goals? And notice I said need, not want. You're probably gonna have to make some sacrifices along the way. Learn how to prioritize the most important things and determine how much time you need to spend on those every day. That doesn't mean every second of every day needs to be ultra productive. In fact, I'd encourage you to try and avoid falling into that trap to prevent burnout early on. Sometimes I may get into a groove and like to keep working, but most evenings I really do try to disconnect, to spend time talking with family or friends, or literally just rot on the couch. The point is this: spend some time working to find the right balance for yourself between all of your goals, your responsibilities, wants, and needs, and then build a system that allows you to be productive when you need to be and to disconnect once you've completed your work. I'm a person who loves structure and planning, so I found this helps immensely. What doesn't help is the reality that things are not always gonna go according to plan. Lesson 3. Obstacles are guaranteed. When I started building my business, I knew that it would be a long process, and I knew that there was no way I could fully prepare for everything to come. But that didn't stop me from trying. I'm working on building an app, And as a data scientist, I have plenty of experience with delays that are both within and outside of my own control. I won't get too technical here, but essentially in building my application, I need a series of approvals from companies that I intend to work with in any way, shape, or form. Those approvals usually require that I fill out applications, submit documents, and most frustratingly, wait around while my application is processed. But I did a ton of research and planning ahead of time. I found information about how long each of these approvals usually takes and created a plan that would allow me to submit applications as early as possible and keep working on other parts of my project until those approvals came through. I started off strong, and then I noticed a tiny little mistake. The address I used on one of my first applications wasn't quite right.
Oh, there's no way.
It took a solid 2 weeks to get my address changed with that organization, and then another full week of waiting to have it update everywhere downstream. So all of my research and planning was completely derailed. I tried to do what I could in that downtime, but ultimately I reached a point where I couldn't go any further until everything was approved. I thought that working for myself meant that I wouldn't have to rely on other people as much to get things done, but here I was waiting and waiting and waiting. But I've given myself 300 days to chase my dreams, so I'm kind of on a tight deadline. And this downtime was an excuse to stop moving forward. So instead, I took a step back and looked at everything else I could work on during that time. And I quickly worked out a new plan to maximize that newfound free time. Being adaptable during that time when my plans had completely fallen apart opened so many doors for me and showed me a better path forward once the obstacles had cleared. Because I was forced to spend time working on other things, I ended up finding a new routine that worked better for me and allowed me to balance all of the things that I wanted to work on. I honestly think that in a lot of ways, I needed to stumble through those first 50 days to learn what actually worked for me and to learn how to navigate this whole journey. Which brings us to lesson 4, fall in love with the process. There's this quote from Kobe Bryant.
Those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey.
I never really understood that until now. Sure, I could appreciate the allure of hard work, but my whole life I had been working toward these very specific outcomes. It's like you go to college, get good grades, get a job. It's a very linear process. And when you're living life that way, I think so often you get caught up in your goals that you lose sight of the journey that gets you there. At least that's how it felt for me a lot of the time. I've always tried to make a conscious effort to live in the present, but with the types of goals I mentioned before, it would always feel like there was something more ahead of me that made it really difficult to feel completely fulfilled. Over the last 50 days, I've tried to completely change that mindset. I started to think about this whole journey more like I think about endurance sports. When I started endurance training a few years ago, workouts sometimes felt really intimidating. I wasn't used to the type of training that I needed to put my body through, and it took a lot of conscious effort to push myself out of my comfort zone and keep moving forward. And right now, this entire journey feels way out of my comfort zone. But I'm just trying to keep that same mentality, pushing forward one step at a time with the confidence that one day I'll get to a place where this life feels normal and I can enjoy all of it, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. Because that's exactly what's happened for me with endurance sports. In fact, I like to think about endurance training as an analogy for all of this. When you're training, you don't notice improvements day by day. You celebrate the little victories. Maybe your longest run yet, or your first race milestone. There are days when you don't feel like working out, when you're tired or sore or literally just don't want to. But with discipline and the right systems in place, you keep moving forward, building with every step. And yeah, life gets in the way. There are things that you couldn't possibly prepare for that derail your progress, and you have to find new ways to keep going. But if you can fall in love with the process itself, you'll learn to enjoy and appreciate every minute of it. Since I started this journey, I've woken up every single day excited to be doing what I'm doing, and grateful for this opportunity to push myself in every way and to learn and grow more than I possibly could have imagined. No matter where I end up at the end of this journey, I know I'm going to feel so grateful that I tried, that I really gave it a shot. And I know that I'm always going to look back at this time in my life fondly because I've been living in the present moment more than ever before. Yes, I'm excited about the future, so incredibly excited about whatever the future holds, but I'm also less worried about the future than I maybe ever have been because I've learned to take it one day at a time. Some days will be good, some days not so much. but I'm going to try to make the most of every single moment. And I can't wait to see where it takes me.